Hello.
Nice to meet you here at 1871.
Yeah, welcome to Chicago and to 1871.
So you were telling us, what is this space exactly? The first.
So it's basically Chicago's central hub for the startup community. There was a few years ago, some prominent entrepreneurs here in Chicago noticed that there's a lot of community going on, but it wasn't really in a central place. It was kind of sporadic around the city.
Yeah.
And so they got together and got some grants from the city and the state to basically build a space out that entrepreneurs and startup companies could come together, work together, and just flourish. So this is what 1871 is. It's basically a lot of, I don't know the number of companies. I want to say it's a few hundred companies that work out of here, but also it's the central space for hosting events. So any big announcements, whether it's from we've had the governor here, we've had Steve Ballmer, Microsoft, a group, some of the people from Twitter. A lot of international ambassadors, consulates. There's been, I think, a couple other presidents that have come through here. So it's anything that involves the entrepreneur and startup community. It basically runs through 1871.
And what are the biggest companies that we have here?
So as far as size goes, it's not the biggest startups in Chicago. Usually what happens is people start here and then they kind of grow out of the space. So currently I'd say the biggest companies are probably amongst the Techstars companies. So Techstars is actually located here, the Chicago branch at least. So there's I think 10 or 12 companies within that group that are here for their current summer classes.
And Axel Ventures is here as well?
Yeah, there's a couple venture firms. There's also 5 universities that basically have what's called a satellite or extension of their campus. And so this allows any student at any of those universities to basically come and use this space for free. So a lot of the entrepreneurs, and students that are affiliated with those universities can come and work out of here, as opposed to sort of being stuck on campus and stuff.
We have like a complete ecosystem here: universities, venture firm, accelerators,
exactly,
and startups.
Exactly. And one other big component here is the amount of mentorship that happens. So a lot of companies and individuals that have been successful in Chicago basically will give back to the community. And so what they've done here at 1871 is created sort of a program that allows these prominent figures to come in and host office hours. So if you need help as a young entrepreneur or early stage startup with any aspect of any aspect of your company, or whether it's legal advice, what entity to form, or technical skills, or marketing expertise, there's many mentors here in Chicago that host office hours every single day, and it's as easy as just scheduling a half hour to hour slot with them, and everything is free advice. So it's very beneficial for startups to sort of get going and make sure that they don't make some of the same mistakes that some of these other people have. So
great, yes, that's important.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So this main space is basically the what's called the shared space. So
Okay.
it's open, sit anywhere you want, and there's not really it's first come first serve. So.
And who are those people that came just to work here today? It's like local entrepreneurs or students?
It's all of the above. So there's a lot of students here. There's a lot of, especially during the summer. So it's a lot of college students that have internships at some of the startups here. There's also some larger companies that will have like sort of entrepreneur type teams. It's the startup within a company. Some of them will have some of their teams here, but most of the people here are just small companies and entrepreneurs that are getting stuff started. So central area is the shared space. Behind this sort of colored wall system is what's called the reserve space, and that's
over there that we will have the offices, the actual companies,
exactly.
and all that.
So those are people that are, it's the teams that it makes more sense to have a desk. They can have their monitors, computers there. They have lockers and stuff. So those, it's usually you'll start here in the shared, to where it's like a small team, maybe 1 or 2 people. You'll move to the
that's the upgrade version.
the reserve.
When things start working, then we move there.
Exactly. But even that, those teams are usually only like 2 to maybe 4, sometimes a little bit larger. But once you get past that point, it just financially doesn't make sense to have a space in there. So that they're usually those companies have been going to the getting small offices in the city. But 1871 just announced, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago, that they're expanding
perfect.
just actually next door. I think it's 25,000 additional square footage.
Wow.
And it's called the Bunker. And basically what it is it's taking those companies from the reserve space that need to grow into small offices.
The bunker, get inside the bunker and just grow.
So it allows them to continue to thrive in this type of ecosystem, have access to all the tools without having to go out to the city on their own. So
it's better, and then they don't lose the contact with the community. They can still engage with the events, know what is going on.
Exactly.
That's perfect. Yeah.
And I mean, to get office space in Chicago, as many big cities are, it's extremely expensive, especially for startups. And a lot of times you have to sign, a long-term lease, and it's not financially viable for most of these companies. So going from this reserve space to what's going to be called the bunker allows these companies to sort of take that next step without having too much risk. So they can continue month to month basis to where they grow into a space. They have their team might be 10 people, and they it's kind of the next step that you would take. And then once you go through that process, probably then you'll actually be ready for a full office, assuming that you're still doing well.
Yeah, good. Shall we keep moving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the things that actually Howard has brought in is this space was very bare initially, and Howard he's a big art collector and everything.
That explains the whole.
And so he's basically
makes such a difference.
Oh, it's a huge difference, and he's actually they've hired some local artists to do some of the murals and whatnot, but a lot of the collection is actually from his private collection. In various other places, and I think this is actually new, so I'm not sure about the skateboards and stuff that.
You always have something new on the walls.
Yeah, but so this is the auditorium. Currently, it's set up for just co-working space since it's the summer and there's a lot of interns.
So in the
and
summer,
it's very crowded.
Okay.
Normally in the fall and the winter and even the spring. You'll come in here and there's only a handful of people working, and it's very, very quiet. It's kind of like a library, but since the shared space in the main room is so full that a lot of people actually are moving in here now.
And do you host events here as well?
Yep. So there's basically the stage is in the back there that they'll set up, and they'll move all these tables out, and then they'll set chairs up. And I don't know the capacity. I think it easily can hold a few hundred in here.
Yeah, sure.
And there's been some big events to where it's literally standing room only. When Steve Ballmer was here, that was a big one. And there's a lot of other people that have come in. I just can't remember their names and stuff, but.
Great, and it's always entrepreneurial events. What kind of other events do you host?
Yeah, most of them are that focused because they really want to try to keep the atmosphere and community exactly.
Ecosystem, yes.
Exactly. So, but I mean, there's the mayor will a lot of times have press conferences here, especially if it's something related to the startup community, and we've had events to where he's announced the VC summit that he's going to be hosting here during Lollapalooza to bring in a bunch of VCs into Chicago. It's in August.
I know, but when?
August, right? I think.
Next month?
I think so. I'm trying to think because I had a conflict and I had to remember it. Was it either August?
I think I've seen Got it. So they will join like Lollapalooza, the city's busy, and bring VCs together.
Yeah. So what they
They're trying to do like South by Southwest.
kind of, yeah, I think it might turn into that. Because what happened last year is they actually hosted a big kind of summit for a lot of college, and I think it was college. It might have been younger. It was basically students that came in, very prominent students from around the country, to come here for like an entrepreneur event, summit. And so this year,
get introduced about this.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so this year they've expanded on that. They're still going to host this, and there's a name for it too, and I can't remember what it's called. But then they're going to expand on it and bring in this VC summit. Because one of the things Chicago has right now is we're starting to really have a thriving community, but there's really no venture money yet.
Okay,
And
this
so
is
it's
the
been
piece that it's missing.
it's been a struggle because there's a lot of companies that do well here, but they have to go to the coast to get funding. And so that's when you do that, you're building a lot of stuff, but then you're kind of just letting it go. And so and these companies end up moving to, and
you want like the companies to stay here to invest in the ecosystem and give back to the community for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, if you start a company here, you're doing very well, but then you move to the coast, and that's when you hire, the 500 people or whatever. Like,
and now you live in San Francisco. What happened in Chicago?
Yeah,
my hometown.
Exactly. So the next kind of step for really making this work is to get the money here.
Okay, that's the message.
Modernizing neighborhoods, creating jobs, and investing in our future.